What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to show you guys how you can enter a big recipe into your food tracker if you are calculating your calories and your macros, and you are calculating something that is a really big portion that you are going to be dividing up throughout the week, and you're going to be eating it separately. It's not just like the single serving size that you're going to be using for one time. So yeah, let's get into it. Today I'm just going to be making like a beef chili of sorts, and yeah, let's go through how I would calculate everything and put it into the app tracker. The way that I'm going to show you guys today is not the only way that you can do it. However, it is the method that I tend to prefer, simply because I like to go based off of the weight of things. I don't like to go based off of the serving size of things. So whenever I make, like for example, whenever I make this chili, one day I might have 200 grams of it, another day I might have 80 grams of it, and another day I might have 120 grams of it. So I'm not always gonna want, if I calculate it and I say a serving size is equal to 150 calories, but a serving size is always 200 grams of the recipe, I'm not gonna always want to eat 200 grams of the recipe. I'm not always gonna eat the exact serving size. So I'll show you guys how I add up everything, and then you can choose how many grams that you are eating when you are eating it. So let's get into the video. First off, for the first thing, I want to add some ground beef. I'm gonna weigh how much ground beef that I'm gonna be using here, and then you'll see this specifically is 90% lean with 10% fat. So whenever I go, if the scanner doesn't work in my food tracker, then I'm just gonna look for ground beef that is 90% lean, and I'm gonna add that in. So you guys can absolutely pick whatever is easiest for you. It's 462 grams, or I could also change this to ounces, and it's 1 pound and 3 ounces. For the entire recipe, I think I'm gonna use about 2 tablespoons of oil. And for oil, I typically do tend to use tablespoons instead of measuring it out. That's also just like a personal preference. You could do either one, it doesn't really matter. And then the next thing I wanna add is this like vegetable medley. It mainly contains butternut squash and sweet potato, and it does have some celery and some red onions in there. I'm going to first measure again how much this is. This is about 343 grams. Obviously, this doesn't actually consist of only sweet potato. However, your onions and your celery is really going to count for like a very minute amount of calories. Sure, part of this entire weight does consist of some weight from the onions and the celery, but again, I'm really not overly concerned about this. So whenever I plug it into my app, I'm just gonna look for sweet potato, and I'm gonna change that to 343 grams of sweet potato. Also gonna be adding black beans, and I think I will add this entire can. So a serving size is half a cup, and it says that there's about 3.5 servings per container. So again, you guys can always multiply the serving size by 3.5 if you like. I just, again, think it's easier to dump this in a bowl and weigh the total weight. That's just what tends to be easiest for me. So that's also what I'm going to do. All right, so I've got 304 grams of the black beans. All right, and I have 115 grams of those chilies. All right, I'm going to continue to cook the recipe, and then I'll see you guys in a little while whenever it's time to talk about the next step. So, okay, you guys, so in my app now I'm going to add this into a recipe. So in my app in particular, what I have to do is I'm gonna hit on this icon, and then I'm going to create recipe. And I'm gonna name this recipe beef and sweet potato chili. And for now, I'm gonna say a serving amount, 1, serving description, I'm gonna do grams. So I'm gonna modify this later because I just don't know the total weight yet. This is just what I'm entering for now so I can continue. And now I'll enter all the ingredients that I used. So I'm gonna search for ground beef, ground beef. And then I need to find the 90% lean, 10% fat. I'm gonna click on that one. Remember, I didn't use 3 ounces of it. I used 462 grams. So I'm gonna change this to grams. I'm gonna type 462 grams. Add to recipe. I'm gonna add in sweet potato. So I'm gonna look for sweet potato. Sweet potato. Does this one let me change it? It does, grams. And I'm gonna add 343 grams. Add to recipe. Then I'm going to enter my black beans. And for this, I'm going to scan the can of my black beans. So, going to scan. Black beans, I did not use half a cup. Again, I also used grams. So we're gonna do grams. And this was 304 grams. Add to recipe. Now the green chili, two tablespoons, nope. Changes to grams, 115 grams. Add to recipe. The last thing I have is olive oil. Olive oil, 2 servings of 1 tablespoon. Is that right? Add to recipe. So now note at the bottom of the recipe, so far it is 1,651 calories, 112 grams of protein, 120 grams of carbs, and 73.5 grams of fat for the entire bundle. I'm going to create. I'm not going to add to my diary yet. So you guys, unfortunately, MyFitnessPal does it a little bit differently, and I really don't like to use MyFitnessPal. But if it's what you have, then I will show you how to do it. I'm going to go into my meals, recipes, and foods. I'm going to click on the bottom that says create recipe. I'm going to enter ingredients manually, title, beef, and sweet potato chili. No, chili. Serving, we're gonna do 1, and we're gonna move on. Add ingredient, I'm gonna do ground beef. I'm gonna do all the same steps. Ground beef. Search. I'm gonna look for 90% here. I'm gonna change this to grams. I'm gonna change this to 462 grams. You're gonna need to do this for every single ingredient. So now I'm gonna do sweet potato, search. I'm gonna do this one. I'm gonna do 1 gram. Again, this was 343 grams. Oops. Etc., etc., you guys. All right, you guys, my chili is cooked, so I'm gonna show you what I do next. Bring out this big old bowl, and I'm gonna weigh all of the chili together. So the total weight is 1241. So 1240, 1241. I'm just gonna go with 1240 grams is the total weight. So now whenever you guys are going back into your app, now you wanna make sure that the serving size is equal to 1240 grams. So let's do that real quick. Okay, so now that we know the weight, I'm gonna type in a whole serving is 1240. Oh my God, 1240. That's how much it weighs. So I'm going to save. Now you guys can see what this app does is it splits it up. And so look, it's saying that there's 0 carbs, 0 protein, and 0 grams of fat. Clearly that's not true. This is one reason why I really don't like to use MyFitnessPal is I just think the user friendliness of it is not that great. This is very confusing to me. Why is everything 0, 0, 0? However, whenever you actually use the recipe, it doesn't come up like that. So let's say for lunch, add food. I'm gonna add, from my recipe, I'm gonna add beef and sweet potato chili. And let's say for today, I wanted 200 grams of this recipe. It calculates everything for you. So it's gonna calculate that it is equal to, that 200 grams of this recipe is equal to 266 calories, 20 grams of carbs, almost 12 grams of fat, and 18 grams of protein. Check. See, you have it here. Perfect. I go back into my other app, which is the Carbon app. So recipes, I'm gonna go back into my beef and sweet potato chili, and I'm gonna edit, modify recipe. I'm gonna make sure that one is 1240 grams of this recipe. Oops. Save. So now whenever I go back into my diary, I type in lunch, I type in recipe. Well, I don't want this many grams, right? I just want 200 grams. Single item. Now we have 200 grams of the sweet beef and sweet potato chili is 266 calories, 18 grams of protein, 19 grams of carbs, 11.9 grams of fats. What did it say on this one? 266 calories. Yep, they are identical. Yep, they are identical, you guys. So again, this is my favorite way to do it whenever you're creating a recipe that you are doing in bulk or a recipe that you use over and over. Another great example of how I like to implement this is my French toast marinade. Just because whenever I was making French toast pretty frequently, I don't want to spend every single time I have my French toast entering in every single ingredient because it's milk, it's eggs, it's vanilla, it's like sugar, I don't want to have to add in those things every single time I cook French toast, right? So I've created the bulk recipe that I can add whenever I make French toast, and then I will add like the bread separately, depending on how many pieces of bread that I want, because that changes as well. Sometimes it's 1 piece, sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 3 pieces of bread. But the recipe of the French toast marinade itself, I've created that as a recipe so I don't have to log the separate ingredients every single time I want to log my French toast. So that works for me. You can definitely implement this in many other ways for the recipes that you guys are using frequently. So I'm gonna be eating the chili recipe with some noodles that I cooked. I'm just gonna add my noodles in the bowl. This is a full packet. So I'm just gonna type in the full packet. I don't really have to do any special calculations for that one. I'm just gonna add however much I feel like adding. Again, now I'm not stuck to having to add the exact serving size. I can add as much as I want and just calculate the grams that I added. It's so simple. This is just my preferred method. Funnily enough, this is 198 grams, which is about 200 grams, which I had already put into the app. So I've got 200 grams of the recipe here on top of the noodles, and I'm gonna add in some cheese. And again, I'm just gonna add as much Parmesan cheese that I think looks good. That is 15 grams of Parmesan cheese. So let's make sure that we have this typed into the app. All right, so I did already add these noodles before. I had to make a meal out of them because it wouldn't come up with the barcode. So here I go. 1 serving is the entire packet, and I did in fact use the entire packet. So I'm gonna add food, and then I added the Parmesan cheese. Parmesan cheese. grated, whatever. Changed this to grams, and I used about 15 grams. So my lunch is 641 calories, 36 grams of protein, 80 grams of carbs, 19 grams of fats. So there you go. That's how you end up typing in a recipe and then being able to use it as you want to for your meals throughout the week or any time that you want to use that recipe. So I hope you guys found that all really helpful, and let me know in the comments below if you need more help and more tips tracking your calories and your macros. Do not forget to please like this video if you found it helpful, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And I will see you guys soon.